Well, hello folks, and I hope you're all keeping well out there. Plus, if you're watching this on the big day, I hope you're having a good Christmas and you haven't ate too much dinner, because you know you have to leave room for dessert, right? Now, regular viewers will probably recognise this bit of hill ground, as I've done quite a few videos up here before, controlling hooded crows and magpies with either the little 2-2 rimfire or the 17 Hornet centerfire. This film was done back in April, when the farmer phoned me saying he had seen a lot of hooded crows up here, one of which he caught pecking the eye out of a young lamb before he managed to shoo it off, leaving it mortally wounded, and it happened to be the morning he forgot to bring the shotgun with him, as it let him get within 20 yards before it flew off. So I think it was the very next morning I went up, set the little pop-up hide up in the usual spot, set a dead rabbit out for a bait, and a dead hooded crow up as a decoy. The rifle is my CZ527 Varmint chambered in 17 Hornet with hand loads. The scope is a Meopta 4-16x44 tactical. The suppressor is a Wildcat Panther in 17 caliber, and I have a Tacticam 5.0 and FTS unit to film through the scope. As you can see, the first bird to the bait is actually a magpie, and I usually get a fair bit of stick in the comments about why I don't shoot them. But it's not for the fact that I can't or don't want to shoot them, it's the sheer fact that up here the hooded crow is the #1 target, as they do the most damage. So I usually leave the magpies alone to act a wee bit like a live decoy, at least until I can get 1 or 2 hooded crows shot. And thankfully this morning it wasn't too long before 2 hooded crows showed up, the second of which was very quick to land in beside the decoy and bait. Well, that's the first one on the deck. After a while, another crow flew in from the left hand side and landed in the wee tree. And boy, it did not sound happy at the sight of its dead mate in the ground. Unfortunately though, it didn't land, but decided to fly off, still in a foul mood. After a while though, another bird appeared from the left hand side and dropped in quite quietly onto one of the fence posts. That's number 2 in the bag. After a while, I had a group of jackdaws drop by, probably out of curiosity, as they're not interested in the rabbit. But they can be a bit of a nuisance in round the cattle sheds, or if you have a freshly sown field of barley. But up here, they don't really bother the sheep, so I leave them alone. Another good reason why I left the jackdaws alone was a group of hooded crows had dropped into the little tree to the left. And another group on a tree to my right. There must have been about 9 in all. Though I needed to wait till they either landed on the ground or one of the fence posts where I could get a safe shot, as shooting them out of the top of one of those trees with a centerfire rifle is a big no-no. Thankfully though, it wasn't too long before curiosity got the better of one. That's the third one. The rest of the birds cleared off after that shot, but I decided it would be worthwhile going out and setting the birds I just shot up as decoys to see if I could draw them back in again, because it was obvious there was a lot of crows up here. Thankfully, the decoys seem to be working, and the sight of me setting them up in the field hasn't put the birds off. It took a few minutes, but unfortunately the first of the two birds decided to play it safe and flew on, but the second bird decided to land in the field. It done its best to convince me I missed, but the one shot was enough. Shortly after that, another hooded crow appeared from the left and landed in the little tree again. Then, as it started to kick up a real racket, it was joined by another bird that landed directly down into the decoys. That's another one down. Time for a tactical reload, methinks, as the little CZ527 only holds 5 rounds in the magazine, of which I only put 4 in it, as the action seems to work smoother at that. Though, thanks to some viewers' comments in one of my other videos, I do know there is aftermarket high capacity magazines if I ever need one. I don't know whether the birds are watching me from a distance, or whether it's just because of the direction of the wind, but they all seem to be coming from the left hand side. I thought sure this crow was going to land, the way it dropped out of that little tree in the left hand side, but no, it just flew across the field and ended up landing on the tree in the right hand side. Then another one appeared and dropped down on top of one of the fence posts. but before I could get the shot off, it flew off. Then I realised that the other bird had flew down out of the top of the tree and landed beside the decoys on the ground. Well, that's number... Actually, what number is that? I've sort of got lost with all the excitement. Crows aren't the only thing you see up here, as a couple of geese give me a flyby on the way to a local reservoir. Anyway, back to the hooded crows, and it looks like another one's about to land. This one though pitches into the bank on the other side of the barbed wire fence, but flies off again before I can even get the camera properly onto it. Only to do a U-turn and land almost exactly where it was before, about 110 yards away, still well within the range of the 17 Hornet. But, frustratingly again, it flies off before I manage to get the shot away. It's almost as if the other bird's deliberately warning it off. Well, that was a kick in the pants. Looks like these birds are getting smarter. Well, you can tell by the shadows that a decent bit of time has passed before another bird turns up. This time though, it's only a rook, and, like the jackdaws, they can do a good bit of damage to a field of barley. But there are no crops up here, and they don't really do any harm to the sheep, so it gets a free pass. However, the next bird to turn up is a hooded crow, which silently drops down on top of one of the fence posts. At about 80 yards, it's another easy target for the 17 Hornet, even in this wind. The morning's moved on quite a bit by now, and as you can hear, the wind has really picked up. That's why I prefer to use the 17 Hornet rather than the 2-2 rimfire. But it looks like Mr. Magpie's back, and since by now I've managed to bag quite a few hooded crows, our little truce is off. Well, by now the morning has come and gone, and the birds seem to have lost interest, so I decided to go out and have one last big tidy up, as there's dead birds lying all over the place, in behind fence posts, on the ground, everywhere, and it has to be putting the other birds off. So I thought I would put them to good use, and set them up into what must be the biggest spread of crow decoys that I've ever done, hoping that I might be able to bring another 1 or 2 birds down before I call it quits. Now, just as I could hear the sound of a quad bike behind me, a hooded crow decided to pitch down into the decoys in front of me. Unfortunately, As well as only just nicking the bird, I also forgot to switch the Tacticam on for the scope cam footage. But thankfully the bird didn't get too far before I managed to finish the job with a second shot. With the bird finally down, the farmer could now see it was safe to drive on up the field, only to stop and take a photograph to prove how well trained my decoy crows were. Thankfully, I didn't miss the bird altogether with him watching, otherwise I would have never heard the end of it. Even with the disturbance of the quad bike, it wasn't too long before another bird dropped in. And this time there was no second shot required. And just as I thought that was it for the day, another bird landed. Well, that was it for the hooded crows, though I did get some nice footage of a buzzard through the Tacticam floating in out over the top of the ridge. Man, that would probably take me 20 minutes to walk, and he done it in about 20 seconds. Well, the crows don't seem to be for coming back again, and I've been sitting for about 5 hours or so, and have a lot of clearing up to do before I can go home, so decided to call it quits. Well, I'm not sure where to start with all this. A few days ago I shot 8 hooded crows, and it was the most I ever done in one morning. I've topped that this morning. I think I've got 9 or 10 hooded crows and a magpie. Farmer said he counted 30 hooded crows up here the other evening, and I thought, yeah, 30 hooded crows, yeah, sure there is. But I've got 9, 10 birds on the ground, and up in the horizon there near one of them windmills, about half an hour more ago, I seen about a flock of 20 hooded crows rise and fly off, so they couldn't have been too far off it. Apparently he's lost a lamb to these. He came across it the other night, and it was still alive. Hooded crow had pecked its eye out, and its rear end, its anus if you want to call it. And it sat there till he got about 20 yards off it before it flew off, and of course that was the day he forgot to bring the shotgun with him. So he asked me to come up this morning, and I have made a big red up, but by the look of it, there's a lot more out there. Ah dear. I started out with the dead rabbit, which I shot last night. It's not a very big rabbit, but it was good enough for bait this morning. Don't ask me where the head went. I shot it with a 17 Hornet. Just use your imagination. And I set the decoy bird up beside it and got a few off of the fence post and that. Then what did I do? I rearranged things a wee bit, set a few of these birds up as decoys using just a wee spike of stiff wire, and that worked, and I shot a wee more. Then the farmer arrived, and I drove all the way up and parked closer to the decoys than I was sitting in the hide, but I still managed to shoot one. I'm not sure if I got it on camera or not. I was all flustered at the time. I actually needed a second shot, but he came up and took a photograph of the decoy pattern to show off his highly trained hooded crows up here. And while he was driving out, I took my decoy bird and set it up over the top of the bird I'd shot on a little wire cradle to make it look as if they were fighting to get the birds riled up again. And it didn't really work, but I did get another, what, 2 or 3 birds out of it. So yeah, but well pleased when I tell them how many I've got. And the look of things, I'm going to have to come back another day, maybe try a different spot and see if I can get a few more. But well worth morning anyway. Well folks, I hope you enjoyed that. As I'd say, it'll be a good while before I manage to top it. And if you're interested, there should be a video up on my other channel, Hunter's Varmint. But anyhow, I wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And until the next time, take care and look after yourselves, hey.